I want to tell you about one of the most validating experiences Pandora has ever given me. So when I first started the project, I was a college student. I was looking at the DreamSMP side by side with my own schoolwork and often writing down my thoughts in between classes and such in order to keep up with both school and the project. One of those classes was about social justice. So one day I was working on an analysis of Quackity and Schlatt's relationship before class started. Then it was time to focus on school and I set that analysis aside. Class was relatively normal until I went to read one of our assigned documents for the day. For those of you who don't know, Emmett Till was a black teen who was murdered in 1955 for supposedly whistling at a white woman. His great uncle Mose Wright was brought to the trial as a witness to the crime, and I was assigned to read through his testimony. So I read through it once and immediately had to backtrack because by my count, throughout the testimony, Mr. Wright used the honorific Sir 71 times. Not once in the 59-page document was this reciprocated. In fact, the only other use of Sir recorded is by the attorney to the court, not to Mose. How did I spot this? The DreamSMP. If you remember, I was working on a piece about the dynamics between Schlatt and Quackity, and if you've seen the Manberg era, you will probably be familiar with Quackity using this phrase on a regular basis. At first, it's an exclamation of excitement. He says it when they win the election over and over, and it's just like so happy.
Yes!
Mr. J. Schlatt.
Oh yes, sir! Yes, sir!
By 1% of the vote.
Yes, sir!
But as time goes on, we watch Quackity become more and more subdued. And it goes from being this confirmation of his excitement to this deference of power.
I'm in charge. I'm in charge.
We share these fucking decisions
Fucking
together,
hell,
man.
man.
No. We share these fucking
Fucking hell.
decisions together.
No.
No, you're president. I'm fucking vice president. You're president. I'm fucking vice president. You know that, right?
Credit to the amazing Precious Jewel Aure for bringing this to my attention with her song Clothes of the Emperor, but it's got a lot of yes sir, yes sir, yes sir in the chorus that really stuck in my head and made me start thinking about this phrase. So the phrase yes sir was fresh in my head when I read this testimony. And having been thinking heavily about the inherent power imbalance it causes in the DreamSMP, I was able to identify the same pattern, a pattern that no one else in my class noticed. You know why we were reading that document? To look for racism in the 50s, which was prevalent, of course. I remember after that class, I just felt so empowered. This is why academia includes works of fiction, to open our eyes to concepts that we might not otherwise think of. So this little hobby of a project suddenly became something real. It had helped me. This theory of mine that we're missing something by brushing aside these unconventional stories, I had proof of it. I had seen it myself. I walked away satisfied and proud, but I don't want to finish up there, because that's not the end of my analysis on language and power in the DreamSMP. I'll stick to the phrase yes sir here just to keep this from getting too long. Besides Quackity using this phrase throughout his time in Schlatt's cabinet, there was also similar language reflected by others at the time, mainly Tubbo. Often when he was reluctant to comply with Schlatt's orders, he would respond with yes sir or yes Mr. President.
I need you to do something for me, Tubbo.
What, Mr. President?
I need you to find Tommy. So I expect you to carry out your duties as Secretary of State.
Okay.
And those duties do not include reminiscing. So,
Sorry, sir.
This pattern seemed to die with Schlatt, and I kind of thought that would be the end of it. Until Las Nevadas, episode 3 went live. I was excited to see the cinematics that had recently become a thing in Quackity's streams, and I wasn't disappointed. The intro was incredible, and I was brutally unprepared for the opening scene with Quackity and Dream in Pandora's Vault. When Quackity, looming over a cowering Dream with an axe in hand, laughs and curses, Dream responds with that long-forgotten line.
Don't ever reach for any of my fucking weapons ever again. Okay?
Yes, sir.
After I recovered from the lore stream that followed, which was a time, I went back to that moment and wondered why it had hit me so hard. And the answer that I found was that the phrase "yes, sir" is used in the DreamSMP to show a power imbalance. People used it to confirm that Schlatt was the powerful ruler of Manberg over and over again.
What do you want out of me, Mr. President?
And you refer to Jay Schlatt as Mr. President.
Well, I mean, he is a president, even if I'm not part of his country. That's still a title. I mean.
And so for Quackity, having given up that power in such a clear way, it was a shift in his character for him to hear himself called sir. The honorific was kind of this like conclusion of his battles under Schlatt's presidency, in the sense that he got this value back that he lost. It's almost a symbol of his role shifting from that of a victim to an aggressor, although we have to acknowledge that nothing on the DreamSMP is ever that black and white. And so yeah, that's kind of where I landed with all of this, and it was a lot to take in. But after looking at it and sitting with it and thinking about it, I realized how powerful this concept of honorifics was, and how the DreamSMP really subtly uses that in such a great way. So there you guys go. Lots to think about. If you guys have ever had a moment where the DreamSMP has helped you in your academics, I would absolutely love to hear about it in the comments, because it can happen. Tell me about other unconventional stories that have somehow helped you out in your daily life. But thanks for tuning in. This was a really cool story to be able to tell, and I hope it means as much to you guys as it meant to me.
Prove myself that I'm something more. I took the rival position and I think that this would be fun.